So since there has been a few questions around the software, I thought it's best actually to give you an overview of how it looks. So this is now the front display you see as a driver. I think from my perspective, it's big enough. The only problem with this is when you get into the car, it's the only chance you can actually see how many kilometers you've driven. It doesn't have a permanent display of the total kilometers. You need to go into the settings. And when you actually want to customize it, there is not much you can customize. You have two options. You can press on here on the steering wheel, left and right, and the one on the left side is right now showing the adaptive cruise control. So when I would be driving, it would show the distance from the nearest car, and that in the middle. And then on the right side, it has an additional one which also doesn't give you much information. So basically you have 2.5 screens on that display, which should be fully customizable. I would like, for example, see the total kilometers driven. I don't need to see that I have adaptive cruise control turned on half of the display. That's completely pointless. Also, how you say it? Total consumption, charging capacity. So at what rate the car is charging when you have it plugged in, you also cannot see there. You need to go into settings. And there is a couple of other things that could have been added to this display. For example, the Kodiaq had it so that you could cycle to the different versions of system settings, phone, radio, travel, and information on consumption, driving, all of that. But here they just did those two things where you basically can slide left and right. Again, completely pointless, and considering that those buttons here are used only for that, it's a complete waste of space. In one of my previous videos, I mentioned that I believe that whoever positioned the buttons in the car and probably designed the interface in the display itself either doesn't drive a car or didn't really think about how it should be done. For example, you have the mode button here, which besides the other point, I would love to be able to actually have this position saved, not that I have to every single time I get into the car change the position. It's not like, you do it every single day and you remember to do it, but it has a huge impact on your driving distances and what you can do. So that would be a preferred option unless there is any legal reason why it can't be done. But my point actually being, this mode button where you select the driving range is next to set. Set basically is a physical button where you can enable interior monitoring, so alarm, and set the tire pressure. Why would this need a physical button? You do it once in a month probably, that you check your tires and you reset so it's correctly done. Interior monitoring, so alarm, you either have it on or you had it off. You don't do it twice or 3 times a day where you would need a physical button for quick access. And that also then begs the question, why doesn't the mode button, which is really important, be either at the beginning so you can feel it? When I'm driving, I don't really want to look down at the buttons, but I know by experience where the button is, or in the middle. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The same with air conditioning, it's on the other side. And another grudge, or not really grudge, question I have here is, on the route right now when we were driving 1,700 kilometers, we stopped a lot of times in a small shop or to buy a vignette, 2 minutes, 1 minute max, go in, go out. And every time you get out of the car, air conditioning shuts down. I understand the logic behind when you have a vehicle that runs on gasoline. You're helping the environment, the car is not idling without a reason. But here we're driving a battery-driven car. And if I have children in the car, what? I need to put a brick on my front seat so that the air conditioning is continuing to run for the minute I'm away? What is the logic behind that? Maybe some of you know the answer. And then we have the big display. Looks great. I can't really say anything against that. The only problems I encountered with it so far is as soon as the temperatures hit above 35 degrees, you get all kinds of weird error messages in the car, from driving assistance not working, emergency system not working, display shuts off. So from my perspective, it's the heat, because the sun obviously gets directly here, and when it hits 40-45 degrees, I'm not surprised that the electronic gets a little bit weird. So the display itself, home button, you can have 2-3 screens, whatever you want. You can modify them yourself. So for example, here you press the plus button and then you have a selection of things you can add. For example, let's do 1x1 telephone. That's all nice. System settings, you need to go to menu, unless you have it, there is a shortcut to the settings, and then you can do a couple of adjustments in here. If you, for example, want to see information about the car and you don't have it here as a shortcut, you need to go into menu, vehicle, and then here you have the information. Again, that one only shows you the data. It doesn't show you the charging rate when you're charging the car, which I think is a complete oversight from Škoda, because I for once would like to see if Ionity is charging my car at 35 kilowatts or at 125 as it should, obviously depending on the battery. Long term, so that's the only way you can actually see the total kilometers driven, unless you have been quick enough to see it on the other display once you got into the car, because afterwards it disappears. Also, I don't see a reason why this is done. Charging, as I said, no information here about charging speeds whatsoever. Let's go back to home and let's see the maps. So that's the standard map that comes with all of you who have actually bought a Enyaq with navigation. As you can see, it's not a topographic map like Google has. I mean, satellite view. It's very much like, as I said, TomTom in 95, 2000. Let's try to search something. So for searching, you need to go into destinations. You need to go search. And then let's say we want to go to Galleria Riga. That's a big shopping mall in Riga. And the first results it does is a museum, and then it's a supermarket, and let's see what else we have. A cafe, sightseeing, again a supermarket. Let's try the same now with Android Auto. I hope it's gonna work. Okay, let's go here. Galleria Riga. So the first hit, Galleria Riga, the shopping mall. So I don't know where the maps are pulling the data from, but from my perspective, the maps in the Enyaq, the data it gets from is complete rubbish and it's unuseful. Another thing I noticed is when I was driving here to the countryside from Riga 2 days ago, I put in the destination and I wanted to see how many charging points are on the way. And the only thing that the Enyaq built-in maps showed me was gas stations, like traditional gas stations. So there is, on the way, it actually shows you on the map, on the side. So you start here, you get to the destination, and on the way it shows you gas stations, which I would think if you have an electric car, you want to see electric charging points. Nope, doesn't work like that. It just shows you gas stations, and probably if you're lucky somewhere, it's going to show you also an electric charging point in between. One thing also to Android Auto, before I changed on my phone, I had a Huawei P30 and the wireless function of Android Auto wasn't working. And when it was working, it was basically the Wi-Fi on the phone turning on completely automatically and Android Auto saying it can't connect, bricking my phone. I had to restart it to get it going, and that was happening a few times. On the cable, worked flawlessly, on Wi-Fi only, no. And now I tried it with Samsung, and Samsung works without any issue on wireless. So you need to be mindful of that probably with any other phones than Samsung and probably iPhone, it's not going to work properly. Things about the software design here, as I said, it's very, very outdated. I test drove Tesla also, and that's probably why I'm comparing it to it the whole time. Tesla is basically a spaceship, and this is a horse carriage in terms of software. There is lots that can be done because the hardware seems capable, but I think there was just not enough emphasis by Škoda to do this, and it's probably also a wider plan because they use a similar platform in Volkswagen and other Škoda cars. One good thing that I saw, for example, is this car is equipped with a 360 camera system, so you have cameras on left and right side mirrors, in the front and in the back. Why not build in the piece of software that would work like Sentry, like Tesla has? Again, which monitors the car constantly and records it to the SD card. The hardware capability is here, only the software would need to be written, but seems like there is no interest of actually making this user-friendly experience once you buy this car. Besides that, inside, the lighting in the evening is just amazing. Honestly, it's really beautiful and very well done. It's not over the top. You can adjust all the lights, you can adjust the intensity, the colors, everything. The finishing, as you probably saw already from other reviewers, is also very beautifully done. So the car itself, it's amazing, but the software is really such a letdown. It's a disappointment. Any questions, please shoot away.